This is my Simplicity Classic 6x6 greenhouse that I've now had since about March this year. So I've had it for around 3 months now, and I think I'm ready really to talk about what I think is good about it, what I think maybe isn't so good about it, and whether you should get one of these over, say, another greenhouse or even a used greenhouse. This is the Simplicity Classic 6x6. This is just one of the more sort of standard sizes they offer. It's a 6 foot width, and then there are alternative sort of lengths you can go for. That 6 foot width is ideal for having plants either side or plants on a bench, as I've got here, and then a pathway down the middle. And it's actually a very efficient space to be growing into. As you'll see from the plants I've got, the 6x6 really can grow quite a lot, especially as you start using, say, some of the floor space or having really clever staging. Now, the construction of this was fairly simple to some extent, if I would say you've done enough flat pack or any sort of construction things in the past. It took 3 of us sort of one morning to one evening to do correctly and safely. If you don't have any experience though, I would recommend getting someone that has some experience with flat pack furniture, any construction, or even some glasshouse construction experience. Or I think they even offer sort of approved sort of people that can construct it for you if you want to do that. In terms of the greenhouse, this is the default option they offer. So it doesn't have any of the premium functions, so it didn't have the additional air vent. It didn't originally have the auto vent, though I did get that as a gift, and I do highly recommend that. Parts you get are obviously the frame, the glass, all the fixings, and then you also get the steel base at the bottom. Now that steel base is a really useful piece of equipment. That will mean that when you construct it, even if you're, in the past, for example, if you had a slightly unlevel base, it could absolutely ruin your experience building it, and it can distort it. Building onto the steel base means that you've actually got more strength, it reduces the distortion, and if your base isn't perfectly level, then it can be fixed. But it's best to try and get that as level as possible before putting anything on top of it. The things I like about this, naturally the price. It is retailing around £800, but normally you get sales on, and so that can bring the price down dramatically. And the greenhouse people are good in that if you are waiting, say, the month minimum typically for the greenhouse to arrive and the price goes down, they may refund you the difference. I've also found that the glass itself is extremely strong. So this is a tempered glass by default, which is different from some of the budget glass house providers, which sometimes offer just standard greenhouse glass. And I would recommend getting the hardened stuff at the very minimum. I've had a number of incidents where I've accidentally hit it. So for example, when I put the auto vent on, I really smacked the glass and also hit it with a number of tools. Actually, it's still standing with no real damage whatsoever. And we also had awful weather as well. So we had a storm back in the spring, we've had hail, and it's in perfectly good condition. So far, I've really, in my experience, I can't fault the construction and the sort of durability of this greenhouse. There are other options as well in terms of the sort of luxury packages or the different paintwork that will make this a lot more expensive. And you may want to consider, say, the auto vent for this greenhouse, which I'd say is probably one of the most useful items to prevent it from, say, going above that 28-degree threshold, in which things like your tomatoes and things will start to have problems. Now, if there's any negatives to say, there aren't many, at least for what you're buying. You're not buying the most attractive or most sort of high-end greenhouse. So this is a bare sort of bone structure, but that is what you're buying. And if that is your expectation, then you will be happy with what you've bought. I found some of the fixings that came with the packaging a bit weird in terms of how they sort of, especially these ones that attach the glass and put the glass in, some of them are a bit soft, but these are sort of standard parts that can be bought from other retailers if you have any issues. I also found that actually when you want to, say, change the vents over, that was a bit of a nightmare. So I would recommend, if you're going to get the auto vent, put it in with when you first put the greenhouse up. Don't wait and put it in after. I got that as a gift after I put the greenhouse up, and it means you have to take the whole frame off, take part of the frame apart just to put the auto vent on. and also it's quite fiddly, so actually I would recommend doing it before you put the glass in as well. Otherwise, I'd say there isn't much to really dislike about the greenhouse. Like I say, there's, you know, it's bog standard for a glass house. It does the job, it's highly functional. You see the space that I've managed to use in this greenhouse fits my purpose. Now, whether you choose to do this, say, over an old sort of used one that you might find on, say, Facebook Marketplace and want to refix, I think there are a number of considerations with that. See, so this size is one that is quite default, and you'll probably be able to find one similar to this on Facebook, but a different brand and much older. And the reason you may want to choose, say, something new over an older one is that some of these metal parts can become distorted over time. Just the replacement of the cost of glass is not that cheap. And so actually you may not end up spending much different from, say, if you buy new. And then my experience with the company, as I say, have a very good customer service. They're very responsive to emails. They gave me the price difference for the fact that my greenhouse, when it arrived, was cheaper than I bought it. And the delivery was on the day as they told me it would be. So I can't really fault that experience either. So if you are looking for a relatively entry-level glass house, I probably would recommend the Simplicity Classic 6x6. It's important to note that I am not affiliated with the company. I've not got a sponsorship with the company. I'm just giving my opinion on this greenhouse, and I've had a really good experience with it. And I would recommend anyone else that is looking for that beginner option to